you, honey?
Okay. Awesome. All right. So good morning. Good morning again. Welcome everyone to the Infinite Mindset Book Club. Today is Sunday. It is March 12th. We're so happy to have each and every one of you here with us today. We have an amazing, amazing host, and we can't wait to get into chapter 6 of this phenomenal, phenomenal book, The Four Agreements. All right, so disclaimer, this is a judgment-free zone. We ask that you are respectful of the religion, the spirituality, and the beliefs of all of our book club members. This is a judgment-free zone. All right, we like to say welcome to any new members. If it's your first time here, we consider you a new member, and we like to say welcome. As I look around the room, I see that we have all repeat members. We're glad you all are here today. Thank you for coming back to the Infinite Mindset Book Club.
We have all book nerds.
That's right. That's good.
Already, you already know it. Hey.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so we ask that you follow us on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook. We'll be streaming live on Facebook and eventually YouTube. Follow us at the Infinite Mindset Empire and the Infinite Mindset Book Club.
This session will be uploaded to the YouTube channel until we figure out the live, okay?
Awesome. All right, so now we always ask that you join our WhatsApp group. If there's anyone that you want to invite to the book club, they can always join our WhatsApp group using this barcode you'll see to your left. So we also have a networking aspect of the Infinite Mindset Empire, and it's called the Infinite Network. The barcode is to the left. If you have any events coming up, just always feel free to post in the Infinite Network group on WhatsApp.
All righty. Thank you so much, Crystal. Way to go.
Thank you, Ann.
You're welcome, Crystal. Anyway, let me get some energy going on here because I was just talking about I didn't have no enthusiasm like 10 minutes ago because I thought we was going on to YouTube, but we hear Facebook peoples. So with that being said, 16 books in, we're really going through this book, 17th book that we have going. And that's what it is. Chapter 6, the Toltec Path to Freedom. Okay, so breaking old agreements. This book was pretty, well, sorry, this chapter was really, really hefty when it came to, hold on, I'm sorry. When it came to this chapter, to tie it all in together with all the other three agreements that we read, sorry, the 4 agreements. So I'm just so excited that we have our beautiful host, okay? Our beautiful host, Miss Janay. Miss Janay is hosting today, and she came to slay, all right? Janay has been a book club member for some time now. This is her 3rd time hosting. And we just want to just thank you in advance for just everything that you have given to this platform, taking the time, teaching us outside of this book club. It's just been a tremendous sight to see your growth and just what you're doing, you know, with your business, with NAREB and just the community in general. So it's always a delight when you grace us with your, you know, with your presentation on each chapter that has chosen you, I like to say. So a little bit about Janay. She's a licensed associate broker with Keller Williams Legendary. All right. And she's also the president of the Queens chapter of NAREB, of Realtors Association of NAREB, I should say. All right. She does a lot of work, a lot of community work, a lot of traveling, you know, just educating realtors on NAREB and the opportunities that they present. She's also an entrepreneur, a real estate investor, a financial coach. Okay, let's go, Janay. She's not playing, all right? And she is from the center of the universe, which we call Brooklyn, New York. And a little fun fact about her, she loves country music and she loves to cook and play golf. All right. Follow her on social media, Janay Malloy, on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, as well as LinkedIn for that business connection. And you can also email her at janay@janaymalloy.com. So with that being said, sis, thank you for all that you do. We love you. And the book club is all yours. And I'm going to get myself way out the way. Okay. All right. Here goes your quote.
Yes, quote of the day. As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. Thanking God for grace every day. And I am so thankful to be here today with you guys. Best part of my week is spending time with this family here, and welcome anyone that's new. You are in the right place at the right time with the right group of amazing individuals. Let me tell you, if you didn't know, you know now. So I was telling Angie that I completely blamed her for getting this chapter in this book. And that's the human in me, right? Placing blame. We read this chapter, you know what I'm talking about, right? Getting ahead of myself. But the human in me placing blame, because this chapter, I feel like we need some days to go over this, right? Like we need multiple hours. I'm going to do my very best, right? That is the agreement. I'm going to do my best to serve justice to this chapter in the time that we have today and being respectful of everyone's time today. But I will start out by saying it was extraordinary. And I hope you had the same experience that I had in reading, where is it, right? And reading this in chapter 6 and breaking the 4 agreements. And I had so much thought process around this. Like I read this chapter like 4 times. I slept, like I read it before bed. I like slept on it because that's when, you know, our mind opens up when we're in rest. And so much what I thought, what I was going to present one day literally changes day to day. It changed this morning. So I have no PowerPoint because that was just like new ideas were consistently developing and coming to me. So I just want to change this. Hold on. Can I change this? No, 1 second. Sorry, guys. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's not working. But anyway, so I'm gonna jump right in and hoping that this works out, just because there were so many ideas, even just kind of starting from like the beginning of the chapter, right? And I'm filled with notes and underlines. I don't know if you guys do your books like that, but I'm full of notes and underlines, and you know, it's just great. I've totally made this chapter completely my own. And it was kind of a summarization, kind of after we've read the 4 agreements, right? The beginning, then the 4 agreements. This Toltec Path to Freedom, right? Which basically talks about how do you break the old agreements that we made with ourselves that got us to where we are today? Like, that's how we're going to get to even accept the new agreements, the new 4 agreements, right? We got to break those all 4 agreements. So let me get into my notes, because I have about 5 pages or 6 pages of notes. And so that's the only way I'm going to keep on track, right? So the 4 agreements is breaking old agreements first, right? So we have to break those old agreements to ultimately get to what real true freedom should be, right? What should real true freedom be? So to accept the 4, we have to break the old agreements, our old agreements with the ones we have. And what is freedom? It said freedom is the human spirit, being who you truly are, right? Being who you truly are, and by being who you truly are, not placing blame anywhere, right? We can't place blame, so I can't blame Angie for today and giving me this chapter. It actually, I remember when we talked about it, it actually was the chapter that worked best with my schedule. Like all the stuff that was lined up in my life, this lined up perfectly, Angie. This lined up perfectly. So who we truly are, we can't place blame, whether that's if we're not living the life we truly want to live. They said typically we place blame somewhere, right? It could be blame on our family, the society, the government, our religion, and therefore we say, maybe we didn't make, my life isn't the way I wanted to be, or I didn't become who I wanted to become because my dad, my mom, society said I had to be this or that. And that's one of the first places we have to start is to stop placing blame, right? And understand that we have made career choices. We have made lifestyle choices, either, career choices we may or may not like, lifestyle choices we may or may not like. Like I meet people who don't like the career they're in. They don't like that they're, I don't know, working, and maybe it's in, like I can tell you, I like people who work for, I've met people who work for corrections, right? I have a lot of family that works for corrections. They hate their job. I haven't met anyone that corrects me that says, I love this job. Not as that is actively working in the prison system, right? That says, oh, I love my job. I haven't met anyone yet. They love aspects of it, but do they really love the job? I haven't met anyone. I've had people who don't appreciate, they're not living in a space where they enjoy their lifestyle choices. Like I have a friend, like he was like, I had to get married because his culture, you get married. That's what you do. Like you don't, like there are a bunch of, he's Muslim, and he's like, in my culture and in my family, we get married. Like that's what's expected, right? The women, they get married. This is what the expectation is. And I truly believe he really wants to be single. He really wants to be a single guy, but he has a wife and kids, right? So sometimes we have the culture that restricts us, or our religion that restricts us, right? It restricts us in our career choices, our lifestyle, our culture, our sexual preferences. You have people that are living a lifestyle today that they said, this is not me, right? I'm LGBTQ, I'm queer, whatever it is, but I because of culture, because of religion, because of my parents and my lifestyle, I've had to live in this space. And this book had me thinking about that when it talked about the spaces we are kind of living in and not living our true selves. The concept of, when like people that are gay say, I came out the closet. I was imagining like, what could it feel like living in a physical closet? Like, how would you feel? Like literally living in a physical closet. How uncomfortable could that be? Now imagine if your mind and your body, all emotions were living in a physical closet and you could not come out. My empathy went like off the charts with that, right? Because I was just like, wow, this was a really huge concept for me. And I think this book is about teaching yourself all of us, how to come out of our closets, right? Particularly this chapter, how do we come out of our closets of not being who we truly are and not living our best selves? Right. I thought that's kind of where I thought of this thought in this space. And if anyone has any thought around that, I'd love to hear it, about not living in your true space and kind of having this fake freedom, right? This fake freedom that we have. If anybody has thoughts around that, I would love to hear it.
Go ahead, Cam.
Okay.
Since I technically came out the closet, I guess I could say a little bit, because it's definitely something different for me. Recently, I didn't come out the closet recently, but like recently I started living my true self after I came out the closet and just starting hormones and everything. It finally felt like I was living the life that I really wanted, and living the life that always felt like I just didn't have the opportunity to live, and just living my true self in a sense. And it's definitely different. Like, I don't know how to explain it, because I feel like a lot of people can't relate, since it's not necessarily you guys aren't trans or anything like that, but it's like, imagine all the fundamental memories you guys have, like going to school and experiencing what it is to have other friends at school and stuff like that. And just like the whole school experience, being in high school, being middle school, elementary, that. Like me, I never got to really experience all those things as myself. I experienced all those things as somebody else. And so like, as much as I am a little bit sad that I didn't get to experience those things, especially high school, it is really cool to finally be able to live my true life and experience just like have the last years of teen youth. Because, you know, I'm 19 now. So having the last years of teen youth as Cameron is really cool. So, yeah, that's about it.
That's dope. That's super dope. Anyone else on this subject matter?
Well, thank you for sharing that, Cameron. And I wanted to, when you were saying, Janay, like imagine living in a physical closet, I thought that was a really powerful analogy because I never really thought about it deeply like that. But although I can't relate to that particular experience, I can relate to being self-conscious and not wanting to be, or not allowing yourself to be your true self because you're so wrapped up in what others would think, you know? And like the culture of my family in my earlier years, there was like a lot of gossip all the time. So like, it also made me self-conscious about people are always judging you, you know, like there's all this judgment going around. So like you have to be a certain way, or, you know, you can't really express your true self. So I can relate in that sense that it's a lot more freeing when you allow your mind to just focus on your own, your own interpretation of life and not what others want to see or try to appease others' opinions. So.
Thank you, Sabine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any hands on that? Yeah, we gotta.
I just want to add something to what Cameron and both Sabine said in reference to what you said, starting off the question of imagine like living in a closet, like literally living in a closet. And we all been a victim of living in the closet of some aspect in our life. And me, on the other hand, I saw what living in a closet was doing to people, as far as like, you know, losing their relationship with their families and stuff like that. And, you know, I made the decision, like, I don't want to live like that. And I didn't care what other people thought, or even opposed to like what my family would have thought about, you know, my life, because it's my life. And it wasn't for me to broadcast it to the whole world. I just, you know, let my mother, father, and grandmother know this is who I am, either accept it or don't, and it'll be your loss. And anybody else after that didn't matter, you know. And then just growing up, even now, just seeing people not living their true self, and, you know, just the bottled up anger that, you know, that they live with, trying to appease, you know, their family members or their friends. They can never live their self. They can never be themselves or live their true self. And I just think, you know, it's not like, you know, I feel sorry for them, bad for them, but I get it, you know. But it's just like, you just gotta want to break free of just everything that comes with, you know, living in that closet. It could be a dark place, you know. So so we all have to, you know, the word closet, but, you know, we all got to come out the closet in something, and that's like facing the fear, you know. And this is what this chapter really is pertaining to, of, you know, the victim.
Yeah, for sure, Angie. And that's what it is. Like, you gotta face that victim mentality, the beliefs of the community, we talked about that, Sam just talked about judgment, and that's what the chapter talks about, right? How we seeing ourselves as victims of this environment, therefore being judged within the environment, which causes us not to be our best self. Epiphany, I was waiting on you. I was like, Epiphany should have something to say on this.
Yeah, I wanted to just say right quick, I'm really vibing with what you're saying, what you're sharing. You always do an excellent job, you know, bringing us together on thoughts and ideas. I'm in the kitchen washing dishes, and I was like, oh yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, and I just want to say, hey, I'm washing dishes, but I'm digging this. The thing that came to my mind was that the pressure of being in the box can seem unsurmountable, like you cannot overcome the obstacles. And the premise of this book is aligning yourself with liberating agreements. And one by one, you knock a wall down, you knock another wall down till you can set yourself free. And that's what this book has done for me, is being able to align myself with new agreements so that I can come out of the box or come out of the closet, liberate myself from limiting beliefs and ideas and principles or cultural pressures or social norms, and even my self-limiting ideas of how I see myself or how I think I'm supposed to be and I'm not, or I'm really not this person, and living my truth. So yes, I see that. And I like the analogy of coming out of the closet. We all have to come out of the closet. We all have to break free of those limiting pressures, those limiting agreements that puts us in those situations, some of which we didn't even put on ourselves, some of which we just didn't know to think different or to believe different or to act different. But now that we're coming to alignment with our true selves, yes, we're breaking out of the box. So that's what I wanted to share. And so thank you for bringing that awareness today.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Right. And that's the domestication that it talks about, right? Like, so we're not even aware of it, right? We're taught these things as young children, so we're not even aware. Lamar.
What's up? Good morning. So
Great morning.
very, very good topic, man. I think this is an important topic when we talk about like an entrepreneurial spirit, because, you know, as we grow up, you know, if you don't come from a family of entrepreneurs, they always tell you like, get a job, work with such and such company, work with, you know, the city is safe. And you know, as an entrepreneur, if you have that spirit, sometime you have a independence, and that can't always be trapped in that closet of corporate America, or, you know, what's safe, or what your family think is safe. So it just made me think, like, I'm going through this kind of resurgence of who I am and the direction I want to go in my career. And, you know, working with a corporate company kind of feels like that constrained, like I can't really be an entrepreneur like I would like to be. And so I decided just to make that transition into, you know, still in the same industry, but kind of like venture off on my own. So when you're saying that feeling of trapped, and it's almost like a suffocation to me, like, you know, you have to kind of do as they do, go as they go, and say what they say. And now I you know, I'm in that world where I can create my own story, my own narrative, and feel free to be, you know, conduct business like I want to do. So I appreciate this conversation today.
Thank you so much. And I so want to move along, right? But something I wanted to say, Lamar, you made me think about, and this book made me think about, it's what's on the other side of that closet, right? Like what's on the other side of that door. And when you talk about entrepreneurship, this book made me think about that too. You see, I can tell you, I was in first grade, vividly wanting to be an entrepreneur. In my spirit, I didn't know that's what it was, but in my spirit, I knew what I did not want. But what I wanted, there was nothing in my community, there was nothing to identify with it, with entrepreneurism, right? Like that, we really didn't see that, not in people of color. Right. Everyone in my community worked for someone. My mother worked for Verizon for like 40 years, right? And she appreciated her job. And she doesn't have no desire to be an entrepreneur. And my dad, on the other hand, was an entrepreneur. Like you would have thought, like he owned everything in the world. He was a plumber, right? But the way he talked about plumbing and being an entrepreneur and working for himself, you would think like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say like Trump, but like somebody that was like, you know what I mean? Like he was like, I got this thing and I own it and nobody could take it away from me, right? And that's how he raised it. He would always say that. And I wasn't raised by my dad. Like we didn't live in the same household together. He wasn't super present in my life, but when he was, those were the things that stuck with me. I was like, and I had to figure it out. So for most of my life, I've been an entrepreneur or operate. Even when I had a job, like I was getting a salary or paycheck every day, I operated as an entrepreneur. I
Right.
drove the president of my company crazy. Like she was always pissed with me because I operated as an entrepreneur on the job.
Mhm.
Like I created my own schedules. I just I made it work. Like my clients fell in love with me, so they would let me do whatever I wanted to do, right? Like they'd be like, okay, Janay, you're coming in at like 3 p.m. tomorrow, no problem, right? Because I just had to figure it out. I remember being in first grade, imagining leading a team of people. And I had this corner office, right? Like, and I was in control of my process. And I didn't understand it at that time. And I've always been the weird one because it wasn't popular to be an entrepreneur growing up. In my community, it wasn't a popular thing. It wasn't until I started working in Soho, and I would work with these young girls, and they'd be like, "Oh, we just started a company doing this. Oh, we just did this," and I was like, "What the heck is going on over here?" Right? Like, we just started a graphic design firm. Like, we just got an LLC, and I was like, "What?"
Right.
So I understand where you come from, and it's living on the other side of that, right? Which is
Absolutely.
why this book was so impactful, because it talks about living on the other side of that. And I realized that I've gone, and why I think I've always lived as a child, and we'll get to that. Like I always had a kind of childish mindset in a way, like a child. I always say I'm a child at heart because I always want to live and do things that made me happy. Right? I was always going against the grain on things, right? And just wanted to be happy. Like I just wanted to be fun, do things that were fun. And so the book talks about, I want to move on, how do we get to freedom, right? We got to first kind of break these old agreements and move on to our new agreements, as Epiphany said. And it reminded me of a story Steve Harvey tells about he was always wanting a car, talking about he's going to get a new car. I think he was raised by his grandmother, and she said to him, he had this old car sitting in the front yard, right? Like forever. And she was like, "How you gonna get a new car? Where you gonna put it at? You got this old car sitting up in the front yard up on bricks, right? And so we gotta remove this old stuff and get it out the way so that we can make room for the new stuff, right? For the new things that we desire and the new goals that we have. We have to make space. And it talks about how do we do that? It's because why we don't do that is because sometimes we're living through fear of not having or fear of not doing, and the fear and or worry, right? Which is why we stay in relationships or we stay in careers that we don't really love or appreciate because we have this fear and worry. And I always think about worry whenever there's something to worry about or people say you're not concerned about. I always say worry is a replacement for me. Worry is a replacement for prayer. Worry is a replacement for me not believing in myself and the God that I serve in this universe he created. Right? So if I don't believe in me and my capabilities, it makes no sense to worry. Like worry is like, I always, when people start to me, I'm so worried, I go, well, if you can change something, you had all the power in the world to change it, to fix it, to cure whatever it was, disease or whatever it is, would you worry about it? And family, the answer is what? You probably wouldn't, right? If you have no ability to change anything, it is beyond you. There is nothing you could possibly in your being do about it. Does it make sense to worry? For something you have no control over, right? And that's why kids are so amazing, because they don't worry, right? They just do what they do. If you're a parent, they have no control over the anything, right? As a kid, they are just enjoying the process and living within the process and appreciating their process, right? They're not dwelling on yesterday or difficulties. A kid could fall down right now, hurt himself, and they'll get up 5 minutes later and they're playing. They're back in joy, right? Enjoying, they're in joy. I-N-E-Enjoy, I enjoy, however you want to see it. They're enjoying. So I think that's a place where we have to work harder at as these humans to stay within joy, right? And stop worrying about what we can or cannot fix. They said kids don't cry and worry about their basic needs, right? They're not concerned about the past. They're not so concerned about the future. And if you guys who are parents of kids, I don't have any kids of my own, I'm a grandparent. I'm a godparent of 9. right? So I feel like I've raised a few.
Dang, 9, dang, Janay, slow down.
I know, tell these people to start having these babies. They'll be like, if we die, Janae gonna take care of the kids. Janae gonna take care of the kids. What my friends said, they go, we know if something happens, you're gonna take care of all the kids. Yeah, they're gonna all be fine.
Right.
But they don't worry. You parents, kids don't even worry about what you gotta say. If your parents are when they're little, they don't even care what you gotta say. They're off doing their own thing and creating, their imagination. And it's until we step in and kind of screw it up that things get jacked up for them, right? That's what
About
things
to say that when we start domesticating.
when we start domesticating them, right?
Mm.
Anybody who want to chat on that?
Yeah, since I have kids, I mean other people's kids. No, it's the truth. Wait, it's the truth. Call on me again, Janay. I had to raise.
Angie,
Yes, thank you.
share your thoughts.
Yes. So it's just like what I just said, like, even with how the book says, like, when you're a child, you're very free, you don't have a care in the world, and you do what someone else is telling you to do. And I think that's the process of the domestication, where we're saying you do this, do that, and it's like kind of, giving them that routine and setting some, those core values and stuff. And then as they're growing up, they're becoming, they're taking on their parents, what their parents are planting in their young minds, and how he compares, like, from when we are children to an adult, that we lost somewhere along the way that spirit of freedom, because now we have that responsibility to say, oh shoot, now I got to go to work, I got to do this, I got to do that, and all that imagination goes out the door, and it kind of makes you think. And I just kind of put myself in a parent shoes of, you want the best for your child, but where do you draw the line now that we know about the domestication of having that, your child have some type of free will to think, but still you have to still lay those lines, those lines down to make sure that they're not going off in another direction. I feel like it's like a catch-22, because we've all been domesticated, but of course you want your child to be a free thinker. But I think sometimes when we do that, when it has to do with like discipline, a lot of people, they don't discipline their children. And now you see these children, they talk back to their parents, they want, the latest iPhone, this and that, whatever. And then we give in to that. What are we, if that's part of a domestication, what are we teaching that child at that point? Entitlement, and that's just something that I see within just, the 21 nieces and nephews that I have, and my godchildren. So
Talking about me, 21. Busy over there.
I didn't say godchildren. I said nieces and nephews. There's a difference.
Gotcha. Cam, then Sabi.
Thinking about the whole domestication thing, it kind of makes me think about like the standard that we have and what we define as domestication. Because in my opinion, how we define domestication is very unhumane, right? I feel like we strip a lot down from what it means to be human, and we put a lot of standards and expectations onto ourselves and just us as a whole. And it really does. It's just like, imagine putting rules on something that doesn't have rules, right? Like, they don't go by rules. That's literally what we're doing to ourselves, right? And when you do that, there's a struggle, and then people get placed into boxes, regardless of what kind of experience it is. Like me, I'm trans, so I'm in that trans box, right? Like all the experiences that I go through, but other people still go through other stuff, like being in a box because you're an entrepreneur and all of that stuff. So there's that obvious struggle. And also with parenting, I feel like because we have this weird definition of domestication. We parent our children differently. And I'm not a parent, but I have been parented, and I see like a lot of different parents taking a different approach on teaching their children. And I think it should be less of domesticating your child and more of just guiding your child. And I always agree with this statement, because it's different when you're trying to mold your child into something you want and mold your child into things. And then when that happens, your child struggles and they struggle to find themselves and etc. And so when you guide your child instead and let them have whatever they have, and just teach them, to love people, teach them to be, not rude, to be compassionate, accepting, and all these good loving qualities, and you just guide them on how to use the qualities that they already have in a good way instead of a bad way, is definitely different. So I think just asking that question of what domestication is, like the definition, and possibly changing it instead of keeping the same old one that we use, that is really tearing us down more than building us up, because it puts us in boxes. It tells us how to be. It tells us, oh, this is bad and this is good. And it doesn't necessarily matter what's bad and good. It's just, as long as you treat everybody good, right? And you make sure that they can live their life and you can live your life, I don't see why it matters so much on the whole thing of all the rules, It's just, everyone should be able to live their life peacefully and not have that huge struggle. Obviously, that sounds a little utopian or whatever, but just the thought can really start.
I'll take Utopia any day.
Yeah, just asking that question and having that thought can really push it forward to like a different way of life,
Thanks.
So that's what I gotta say.
And there's something in the book, before you get started, there's something that he says, basically our parents didn't know better, right? They were domesticated. Now we're domesticated. And it's when we learn this new language and this new skill set. Sabine?
Yeah, these are all great points. And I was just wanted to add that, it is a delicate balance. When you were saying, I think it was you, Angie, saying like, how far do you go? Like, how much freedom do you allow? Because so for me, my perspective, obviously I was domesticated as well. And so I take the approach that I don't want to do all the things that were done to me that I didn't like, right? So I'm very, try to let my daughter have her own opinion, be herself, and I'll give her constructive criticism. Like, I'll be like, I'm not judging you, but if based on whatever the situation is, this is what I would do. Or I'll try to break down and help her, give her some understanding of circumstances, like as she's dealing with friends and, different life circumstances and things like that. She's only 10, so we still just getting started. but yeah, it's hard. It's hard to not be like, this is how you do it, right? And it's like, but I always have to like think in the moment, like, no, that's just the way I was taught to do it. It doesn't have to be done this way if she doesn't want to do it this way. You know what I mean? Like, it's every little thing, this is, you have to shower like this, or you have to go to, it's like all the little things, like go to bed at this time or whatever the case is. Like, yeah, okay, well, you do need to get a certain amount of sleep. So, you have to sort of like think through why you're making these decisions or why you're telling them to do these things. So I try to make everything a teachable moment, or I'll let her, fall on her face for certain things, and I'm like, see, this is why you needed to do it this way. But it's not because I want you in a box. It's because if you're going to live in this world, there are certain things that we have to become domesticated about, or we have to conform to. So it's a delicate balance. It's looking at, everything like what you were saying too, Cam, was great points, guiding and, like almost like bumper rails, like guiding them through life versus making them who you want them to be. So I hope that made sense.
Yeah, I think that's what my mother did. I think we had guidelines, but I think she definitely was a guider, right? I think she definitely did that. And I'm so thankful. They said the older you become, the smarter your parents become. You start to discover stuff, the smarter they become. Lamar.
Oh yes, sorry. So yeah, Sabine, I don't know who said guidance is a great tool. Just as a father, so I'm getting feedback for some reason. As a father, a 10-year-old boy, like some things I have to let him just experience. I try to put him in different atmospheres and different experiences. So I can guide him, but I'm not always the same voice he hears. So I kind of allow other voices that I trust, but also I'm there just to give him some feedback. But at the same time, he's still a 10-year-old boy, a Black man. He's going to be an adult man at some point. Some things I choose to be a little tough on than others, because we still live in a world where, it's a world where we have to act a certain way as Black people. And I'm very conscious of that. But as a young man, I still have to let him grow and experience. So it's definitely a different guidance and it's a thin line in how we domesticate, if that's the word we want to use, or choose what we can domesticate, if that is a thing. But definitely hard in that realm of choosing what to teach and what to let them kind of experience in their own world.
Yeah, for sure. Angie. Thank you, Lamar.
Y'all proud of me? I'm raising my hand.
We are.
I was just seeing if it worked. I don't have that. I'm just playing. No, just listening to Lamar, and transitioning from Sabine to Lamar and now we're back at talking about domestication. That's not even a chapter, but it relates to this chapter because it is breaking down like all the 4 agreements within this chapter, and just hearing just like, how Sabine is dealing with her daughter, and then you have Lamar, who is a single father, how he has to raise his son, especially like he said, in a world like this, it's a different domestication, because now you have to, I wouldn't say like program, but you have to prepare, especially for like a young Black male to grow up in this world where they're still, profiling and, they have a lot against them, opposed to having your daughter, to, make the right choices for herself, know how to be independent, things of that nature. I think that's a great topic to be had, like how, like raising, different genders, in different households. As far as like the domestication is concerned, because one, domestication is a thing, and we all been domesticated, and just like Sabine said, you don't want to do the same thing that your parents did to your child because you didn't agree with that, but you still have to formulate some type of other guidelines or rules or whatever you want to call them. You were raised by your mom and dad, you probably been raised by your dad. I was raised by my grandmother. So we all had different type of upbringing when it comes to, becoming the person you're supposed to become, opposed to like, oh shoot, my grandma told me to go to school, get an education, get a job. And then here it is like, I don't like this at all. And I didn't hear anything else outside of that until I got older about entrepreneurship and this and that. So I had to unlearn that type of training and said, if I ever had a child, I would never tell them to do that. Go follow your dreams, go work for yourself, go do this, but do what makes you happy at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Because we tend to want to guide them on a path of success, thinking that, going to college and doing this and, climbing up the corporate ladder will be the safest thing, when, you got to give them a choice to grow. Okay, let me be quiet. Okay, go ahead.
We appreciate you not being quiet.
I noticed the most I talked in 3 years is the whole book club being formulated.
Thank you. Glad you did it on this chapter.
You know what? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. For some reason, talking about this topic, I felt the same like you, Angie. I feel like I'm rambling, and I'm like, what are my thoughts exactly? But it's because there's no clear answer, right?
Right.
I don't know.
And I think that's the truth. You hit it on the head. There's no clear answer because we all come from different walks of life and we've all been raised differently. And we just do the best of what we were taught because our parents and their parents didn't know any better, and you can't fault them for that. But it's up to us to discover who we are and what we're supposed to be. You know, we can't go blaming, oh, my mom made me do this, my grandma made me. We can't do that. It comes a time where you have to take the control of your own life and say, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to give myself permission to say yes, to say no, to do what it is that I want to do. You know, and that's what it all boils down to. You know, and that's part of growth. You know.
I agree. It's a total part of growth, right? It's like, but what I want to encourage parents and all of us, right? And this book really talks about it, is how to stay free in mind, free, right? This how to maybe maintain more of our childlike attitudes and our childlike thinking. Like that is huge. I was thinking this morning, I was like, you know, I was blaming, right? I was like,
Still blaming me, dang, it's a thing. Blaming you.
I was like, no, I wasn't blaming. What I was saying was, I was thinking about relationships, right? And I was thinking about relationships and how, for me, in relationships, we go and we try to do the things that are that we're supposed to do. We're taught to be a certain way, even in relationships, right? And I was just thinking, I think I need and I was talking about my singleness in my head this morning, right? My singleness. And I was saying, I feel like I need someone who's also a kid at heart. And I think that with so many people are not in that space, like we have to be professional, we have to be this way, we have to be that way. It's almost like a bad thing to be a kid at heart. Right? It's not like what you should be doing now. You should be doing something else. Like, I'm like, let's go to Disney, right? Like, I'm about whatever's fun. Like, I want to do it. I want to go to the zoo still. Like, I'm really that person, right? And I get excited for stuff like that. And like the amusement part, right? And adults are like adulting way too hard. I feel like, right? Like, and we missed the mark, I feel like, on being enjoying our kidness. And talking about those responsibilities, I want to move on, but there's so much layered in this space. I teach financial education and financial wellness, and I also have a great opportunity oftentimes to meet with children, young adults. And one of the things that I've said to them is that I stopped asking them, what do they want to do when they grow up? Or what do you want to be when you grow up? Now I ask them, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Right? Because that's really what we want. We want the lifestyle. We want to do what we want to do, but in doing it, we want to have the lifestyle that we truly desire. So, and that's where to me, and that's where they'll find happiness, right? Learning to finding a way to make a living at what you truly love. We've all heard the quote, like, you know, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I believe that, to be honest. Like, I get up every day and I don't believe I worked. Like, I'm trying to find a new word for work. I don't think I work.
Janay?
Flow. The word is flow. Get up and you flow.
Okay, we got flow from Marlon. What did you say, Sabine? I didn't hear you.
I was making a joke like Tommy from Martin. You ain't got no job.
I ain't got no job. I'm in the flow. Right, Marlon? I'm in the flow. And I think that's a very important place to be, is thank you, Marlon, for that, in the flow. I'm going to start using that. People are like, what you do? I flow. I used to say whatever I want, and people be like, what? Whatever I want, right? Like, I really am living. I have to say, I think I'm living really what's designed as my best life right now. Like, I just get up and I'm so excited by everyone around me.
Indeed it is.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen, bro. Amen. Hey, Cam?
I guess you could say I'm also an entrepreneur, and I'm still young, so I'm still trying to find my way of being an entrepreneur and whatnot. But right now, I'm definitely struggling between the transitioning of it, because I'm still in the mindset that I need like this 9 to 5 or corporate job. And every time I don't, like do the traditional thing, I'm like getting down on myself, being like, bro, you're supposed to have this kind of job. You're supposed to do this kind of thing. And if I'm not doing it, I feel either like I'm a lazy person, unproductive, or there's something wrong with me. And like, it can really get hard, It's definitely something that is really messing with me at the moment. But you definitely just gotta flow. And I feel my best when I'm flowing. And I just know what I want to do when I'm sitting there doing it. And I'm just thinking, this not even work. Like I just happen to get paid for it. I could do this for free if I wanted to. Like that's literally what it is for me. Like I just happen to get paid for it. Like if I didn't even need to pay bills, I'd be doing this regardless, paid or not. And that's like, I just gotta learn to accept that and learn that that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, because it's not the traditional corporate way. And my dad and some of my parents, tell me like to get a job and pay help myself and pay for all these things that I gotta pay for, and you be responsible. But I'm really trying to find a way to be responsible and still have my freedom, because every time I think about a traditional job, I'm just like, bro, like I really don't want to do it, because I can feel my freedom being taken away already, and I just can't, I just can't. So it's definitely something.
That's that anxiety, right? You get anxiety around it. I used to get anxiety around it.
Yeah, I can't, like I really cannot. I don't know what it is, but I just don't like being held down at all. I like doing whatever I like to do and just have that freedom. And it really just, going through all of that really just made me ask exactly what I want and how I want to live my life. And so now I'm just still in deciding how to go about that now. But it's definitely a lot of bumps in the road and whatnot. But I guess I'm a little bit okay with that.
Excellent. Cam, that's the first, that takes us right, great transition. That takes us right into what they said, the first step of getting to freedom is awareness, right? You become aware of what you desire. You become aware of what you want, right? And it says, without awareness, there is no change. And like, you like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And that takes us into, he said, you have to rebel. You have to rebel against the domestication. You got to rebel in order to rebel against the domestication, rebel almost against what you've learned, like that corporate mindset, if it's what it is for you, right? Or what you're supposed to be. You have to have a true rebellion and become like a warrior in this space, right? It says, because the life you really want to live is in your dreams. Like, you think about it. People dream about the life they really want to live. Oh, if I could do this, if I hit the lottery, right? Like in their dreaming that their best life exists only if that thing happened. Your best life exists only if you happen.
Mm-hmm. And hit the lottery and still don't do what they said they wanted to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your best life exists only if you happen and you dream your dreams, right? And I see you, Sabi, and it says, life is a manifestation of your dreams. Dreams, you have to become a dream master to create a masterpiece. And Sabi.
Sorry, I wanted to give you guys awkward silence. No, I mean, this is really good stuff. I wanted to say to Cameron, it's like, you're feeling like a little bit of guilt when you're enjoying what you're doing, because you've been conditioned to understand that work needs to be work, and work is not fun, and work is what you do, what you got to do, but it can be joyful. So like for me, I'm an entrepreneur, right? I own my own business, and I find myself, it's hard to enjoy the freedoms of being an entrepreneur, like, because I'm so conditioned that work is work. Like, you got to be working during these hours. If you're not working, then, you're not productive. Like you said, lazy. But no, why did you start your own business? You know what I mean? So that you can have the flexibility and do the things you want to do. And like, I'm planning a trip. Like, I want to take a whole month off, essentially, So it's going to be a really big deal for me, but it's a struggle. Like, I'm struggling with that decision. Like, does that mean that I'm lazy? No, that means that you built a business for 10 years and you now have the luxury of doing what you want to do. So we have to stop making ourselves feel bad because we're not going according to what society says. And it's really it's not everybody who's domesticated in this way, right? There are people who understand you build business so that you can buy your time and then you enjoy your time, right? They understand. There's a certain sector of people in this world who understand what that is. But we were conditioned to be domesticated, to be the workers. We were supposed to feel guilty for not working so that we're always working until we die. But we have to change that. We have to change that narrative and start to enjoy. So force yourself to enjoy bit by bit, and then you'll be able to have that balance in the long run. But it's good that you're already realizing that now, you know.
For sure. Zakia.
Good morning. It's Jakia Janay.
I got it right.
So I'm also an entrepreneur, and
It's got to spell it right on the check. It doesn't matter.
That's all that counts. I'm also an entrepreneur, and I also feel like I was domesticated to not be an entrepreneur. There was no one in my family that had their own business. I'm one of 6 kids. It took me moving out of Seattle, getting to New York, going through everything that I needed to go through in order to arrive to where I am now. And I feel like there's still moments. I haven't been an entrepreneur as long as Sabine has, but I feel like I never had a job that I loved, right? Even after law school, where I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, I didn't love what I was doing. And what ultimately gave me the courage and the, I guess, excuse to start my own practice was having my daughter, because I wanted the freedom of time. And I knew that no job was going to let me leave my house at 1 to go get my daughter from school and be back at 4. And you know what I mean? And I even had a fear because my husband has a 9 to 5. And with COVID, he started working from home indefinitely. I always worked from home. So there was also this fear, like, is he going to think I'm not working on days when I don't have a contract to review and I'm just chilling? You know, there's always this fear, like, I got to be working. I got to look busy. I got to do this. And he was very supportive of it. And Cam, when you're saying like, oh, you feel like the 9 to 5, there was times where, and there's still times where I still take on other contracts to make ends meet, right? Because my business hasn't flourished the way I know that it will. And I don't feel guilty about that. I just know I got to do what I got to do to make ends meet, but keep focusing and keep building my business. But at the same time, I know that with all of these things and walking away from that domestication that I have, I'm there for my daughter, right? She's only 5. And maybe, you know, once she gets older, you know, things will change. But for right now, this is what's working for me. This is what I'm proud of. And it doesn't feel like you're going to work. You know, every time I get a client, I'm so happy and elated, and the clients want to be my friend. And I'm just like, look, the deal's done. we gotta move on. But it's a great feeling to have when it's something that you've created, it's yours, and you see it flourishing. And you know it's because you weren't tied down to what everybody else thought you should be doing.
Thank you. Agreed. Lamar?
Nice.
Hey. So I think it's interesting. I think this also ties back into not only the first rule is being impeccable with your word, but some of our other readings, some of our other books. And when we talk about being impeccable with our word, sometimes we also have to be impeccable with our word to ourselves. We have to give ourselves that encouragement or remind ourselves of what the plan was going into that journey of entrepreneurship. We have to be very particular and distinct about the words that we use when talking to ourselves, or else we'll fall back into that domestication. We'll fall back into some of those points that we spoke about with other books, as far as what our vision is and what our goal is and what we're saying to ourselves in our dreams or during our early days. So just, you know, when we're in those moments where we feel like lazy or something, you know, we have to be mindful and impeccable about the words that we're using to ourselves, not simply just impeccable about the words we're using with others. But I think, you know, that self-talk is just as important.
Agreed. And that's, you know, Jermaine talks hugely about self-talk, right? The words that we say to ourselves. He has a whole book about it, right? Like the self-talk and things that we how we undermine ourselves and our self-talk. And that's really the most powerful voice, is the one that we have, because we're always talking to ourselves and judging ourselves and putting ourselves in spaces. And we have the power to impact great change all day, all the time with our self-talk. So yeah, Lamar, I agree. So, and it goes into, so as I was saying, dream masters, creating those dreams, right? Having the right self-talk to ourselves to create the dreams that we want. We don't got to wait for it. Be the dreamer, be the master of those dreams. Masters create masterpieces. And through that, we have to understand, I think this conversation around responsibility is that really it's about the consequences, right? That if I don't go to work, right? And if I don't go to work and do this, like, I'm gonna be broke, or like I'm not gonna be able to pay the bills, or right. And that's what our parents are really saying, right? There are these consequences. So I think it's important. We do have to understand the consequences. That's something that we have to definitely look at. And understanding and creating that dream and creating this masterpiece, we have to become a master of our minds, right? Truly master several things. And he talks about the three masters because he said Toltec is a way of life. And I agree with this 100. Like, it is such a way of life. It's a way that we have to live continuously all day, being actively engaged. And I'm going to share with you before I go into the three masters real quick. This past week was really interesting. I had a really interesting day. I wish Conrad was on here because we were doing a deal together. We had an interesting experience. Well, I did. Well, essentially, the people didn't want to pay me. They were like, "We're not paying you." And I was like, "Have you met me? This is not going to happen." Right? Like, this is not how this is going to go down. But getting to the space where Conrad said to me, after everything was over, the closing happened, he was like, "Yo, last week," I was like, "How are you doing? Like, how are you not flipping out? I thought you was gonna flip out." And I was like, "Nah, we do this work so we don't flip out." I said, "That's the work we talk about every week in the book club, right? We do the work so that we are master of our minds, so that we're not flipping out when these things happen." And through that, and I'll share, I said, because Conrad, something bigger is about to happen. Like, from this, something else is being born. Something gigantic is about to like explode. And it literally started to, I don't know what it's going to look like, but it literally started to unfold itself because I had an awareness of where I was in the moment, right? I became super aware of what was happening. And I was like, okay, I see you. I recognize this, right? And I had to change the direction I could have gone in. But that is the work, and I thank you guys for being here every week and helping me work in that space and grow in that space. So, and it, by the way, if you're a real estate agent and an owner cannot walk away with your commissions, there's a form that you file out. You file with the city county clerks, and you can halt all that nonsense. I'm hosting a whole class on it. I got Libel on board, and NARAP is going to be sick, but just want to lay that out there for you, right? There's a form for that.
Make sure you put it in the network group.
I'm going to put it in the network. You all got to come out because there's so many real estate professionals in here.
But it's why you got everybody that's entrepreneurs or looking to be an entrepreneur or whatever it is you do. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. Join the network group because we're going to do some amazing things with that group. Right now, people just joining it now, but This is a way of connecting and learning and promoting what we have to offer to each other. So many breakthroughs has come from this book club that is just amazing. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, thank you. And it's true, right? So number one, awareness of who you really are and what you really desire, right? Those dreams. Two, he talked about transformation, how to change from being domesticated, right? Once you become aware, you can start to discover how to change from being domesticated. And he talked about the most important is being the intent. Transformation, he said the intent is really transformation of energy encompassing all energy, which is the master of love, i.e. God. And the God within is how I understood it, right? So huge. I was like, yes. I was giving myself snaps. So I was like, it was huge. I was like, oh my God, yes, this is it, right? The intent is the transformation of energy encompassing all energy, i.e. God. All energy is God, the mastery of love. And I'm gonna stop there if there's any dialogue on that, because that was a huge book drop for me.
That was the book drop of the day.
Right? It was huge. He went on to say the Toltec Path, to break free from domestication of the mind, right? He compared it to a parasite. He said that they compared this domestication to a parasite, right? And I remember being in school, and I think I was like probably like a sophomore or something, and we had this course. I forgot what it was called, but it was like global studies of some sort. And they talked about how this person had ate a piece of chicken, and they were in some foreign country. They ate it foreign from the US, whatever that means. They were in another country and they ate this piece of chicken, and the chicken had a parasite. And the parasite lived in them, and it grew, and all this stuff happened, and they became so sick. Yo, I didn't eat chicken for like 3 years. I think through high school, I didn't eat chicken. Right? Because I was like, the parasite's gonna get me.
Y'all know I don't eat meat, right?
Excuse me. You scared of the parasite, Andy. I got you. So the parasite's gonna get me. So it talks about that. The parasite is the judge, right? The judging that we and others do, the victimization that we and others do. And that parasite is made of emotional energy. And that emotional energy, that energy will essentially suck up, right? Because parasites live off of other humans, right? They literally they like suck the goodness out of you, right? Whatever it is, the health out of you, right? And they deteriorate you from the inside out. And there's a disease. So they talk about you have to destroy this parasite. And to do that, you have to have the freedom to rebel and kind of reclaim your energy and be a warrior for your own energy against this parasite. He said, win or lose, do your best in battle against this parasite. Doesn't matter, win or lose, we're going to grow every day in fighting this. But you gotta win or lose, you gotta do that. And he says, as warriors, we transcend from the dream of planet to the dream of heaven. That's our happy and joyous and free place. Happy, joyous, free place. When you have those small wins every day, right? Cam, when you decide, like, I'm going to do this job, I'm going to take on this gig. Jakia, when you're like, yeah, I got this contract, right? Even though I may take on some corporate work, I got this contract. I just got a call. My clients love me. Those are the small wins. Those are the warrior battles in doing this work. And also, he talks about freeing yourselves and how do you attack this parasite. And he says it's attacking one fear at a time, because the parasite is really a bundle of fears, right? So attacking one fear at a time. So there's 3 ways. So you can attack it one fear at a time. which takes longer, right? You can starve it out, which is gaining control of your emotions. And I think that what I was experiencing when I was talking to Conrad about was that I think I do the starvation mode, right? I starve it out. Like I'm learning to gain control of my emotions. And I'm a big believer in mental toughness. There's a book called 177 mental toughness, 177 rules of mental toughness, something like that. 177 mental toughness rules, Steven Siebold. And he talks about, he studied all these very wealthy, well-to-do, extraordinarily wealthy people, and he created these rules of mental toughness and the mental growth. And I read it from time to time. It's like it's like 170 chapters, but it's only one rule. Maybe it's a page, maybe it's 2 pages. But it's been very helpful in me in business, particularly, and in life, because it taught me to be mentally tough, right? To be a warrior in this mental space for my own mental health. We have to be the warriors for our own mental goodness. And then the last was initiation of the dead, a symbolic death of this parasite. That kind of knocked me on my butt, right? Symbolic death. But it also took me back. I was like, wow, it took me back to Romans 12:2. It says, do not conform, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's all about renewing of our mind and consciousness of our energy and taking into account where our energy is spent. What are we doing with it? How are we using it? How are we being accountable of it? I'm gonna pause right there and see if we have contribution to this conversation, because that was a lot.
You know, I'm not gonna say nothing because I've been talking this. I should have been the host. The much I was talking.
Keep going, nothing to stop you. So yeah, right. That receiving of the dead, that was huge for me, because he says we have a choice that to move forward, we have to clear the fog out of our head, right? We're living in this big fog. We have to clear the fog out and decide what we really want. We have to clear the fog and decide what we really want. And before I go into the other part, Angie, real quick, because we got to get out of here.
I know it's about that time. You know what I'm saying? Just like a conversation. No, I just want to add, because I was just telling someone this. I actually told a couple people this, and it's weird that it came up in that chapter. And I said, this is what I've been saying all along. When he talked about the symbolic death. And I had told someone, because they were, telling me about what was going on. So I said, and I don't know if I ever said it here, but I said that we only have one life to live, but we die 1,000 deaths. It's the ultimate death, but we die 1,000 deaths because we constantly have to kill ourselves to become the person, we're supposed to become, and to be, to become in the becoming, So I just thought that was pretty interesting. Just for the simple fact, like I always say, that we're living this life in self-discovery. We're trying to discover who we are, and you're not the same person you was yesterday. You're not the same person you were a year or two ago, and you're not the same person you were 10 minutes ago. We're not the same person from 10 o'clock on to 11:30, so we're constantly killing our old selves to be reborn to a newer, higher self, which is just an elevation, just to become and live in your higher self, your higher power. Ashe, okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Angie, but that's 100% true. The moment before is not this moment right now, right? We're in a brand new moment. And I know if you guys got to go, we understand dropping off. I'm just going to try to close this out real quick. He says, so if we get through those things that he's described to live this Toltec life, he says, we can then adopt these 4 agreements. We can then be in a space to start to adopt the 4 agreements and really live through the 4 agreements. He says, but you have to get to the core of the old agreement. You got to go into the desert, he called it, right? They said going into the desert. It meant meeting the demon. breaking the black magic. And all through this, be patient with yourself. When before pandemic, when I would go to church, and they have an altar call in Christianity. They have an altar call where you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you go up and we would pray over these people receiving altar call. And my prayer would always be, Father God, give them patience with themselves. Give them patience. And I would say, give them your patience. And I would say, oh, that's a big task. Give them a little bit of your patience, right? Give them a little bit of your patience with themselves, because as we transform, we can become frustrated with ourselves. As we reach out to fight these demons that have been embedded in us, we will become frustrated. And as Cam talked about, the anxiety with ourselves and with the space that we're in, we have to be patient, and we have to understand that it's going to take repetition of the good stuff and repetition of the new 4 agreements to get to where we got to go, to win this battle of our dreams, to get to our ultimate goals. And we have to have discipline, right? We talked about tracking, being responsible, taking account of your mental, physical, and well-being, your bank. I believe that there are different banks in life, right? And some of the banks, I believe there's a bank of belief. And I believe that there are other people who have a bigger bank of belief in me than I have in myself. So your parents or other people may have a bigger bank of belief than you have in yourself. I'm a big advocate. I believe in creating good debt. So I'll go borrow from their bank of belief to build mine, right? It's like when real estate, when you borrow to buy a house, it's because you're borrowing to build equity. Something greater, some legacy. And we got to get comfortable with that. And this week I was talking to a client, and they make really good money. It's a family. They make really good money. And I was telling them about how they can get this house and how we could do it. They could buy this building. And the son, who's really young, kept telling me, oh no, Janay, that's too much money. I will never pay it off. I could never pay it off. I could never do it. But they just spent like, I don't know, $100,000 to buy a business. That may or may not work, right? You buy a house, that building is going to keep giving you money every month. Like, it's going to give you money. And they live in the building, and they're paying collectively about they're paying collectively $8,000 to rent. They rent the storefront, and they rent like 2 apartments upstairs. They're paying like $8,000 or $9,000. And I was like, but the bank will give you the money. He kept saying, it's going to take forever to pay it off. It's just a mindset, right? So I'm a big believer in borrowing from other people's banks of belief to fill my own. This particularly talked about being accountable to how you expense your energy, whether it's in arguing with your spouse or having a disagreement. You get a certain amount of energy every day. Be careful how you expense that energy, right? Be very accountable to it. He says we have to clear and clean our mind. And another way, a huge way to do that is in the process of forgiveness. The process of forgiveness, learning to forgive others and forgive yourself. Huge. Be patient with yourself and forgive yourself. Love on yourself. He says our body is like, our mind is like, it's disease and it has like wounds on it. So we do gotta be protective of it, but we also gotta start to heal it, right? And that healing can come through having control over your own emotions. They say a warrior refrains and does not repress. When we repress things is when we hold things and we harbor them, and it festers, it becomes the parasite, and it eats us up from inside. A warrior doesn't repress it just refrains from going to that space, right? It knows its boundaries, it knows where to stop, it knows where to do other things, right? So we got to learn how to refrain, right? Not repress things. And he says, most importantly, lastly, he talked about, you got to go more on. He says, embrace the angel of death. We got to let some things die. We got to let the old us die, the old habits die. He says, It can teach, he says, embrace the angel of death. It can teach us to love every day and live every day. And live every day like our last day. If today was your last day, you wouldn't be so concerned about, you could probably much easily forgive something that someone did or has done or said or hurt, right? You just forgive it and you move on because you only got a date. You're like, I forgive you. I'm giving you this gift, but the gift is yours. Give the gift to yourself. Don't be fearful of, this was stuck with me. He said, don't be fearful of telling someone you love them. It does not matter if they love you back. Right? That to me was hugely freeing. He says the angel of death can take everything, all of your possessions, everything that you have, everything that you own. He says, so don't worry about it. Just live in the present and don't carry the past with you. And that is where I'm going to leave things for today. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. And I thank you. I don't know who chose this book. And Angie gave me this chapter. I don't know who chose this book and how we got here, but I'm greatly appreciative.
Listen, I'll take it all day as far as whatever chapter you guys choose, because I'm a firm believer, and I'm on record saying whatever chapter you have is your chapter, and I have yet to anybody have yet to prove me wrong with that, and it's a beautiful thing when you can come on here and you share what you experienced through the book, and we get a whole lot out of it. And that's like just the beauty of this amazing, powerful book club that, I just love so much because of each and every one of you. But Janay, we just want to thank you, just for pouring into us today. Like, we really went to church. It was like a whole sermon and stuff, like, 10 more minutes.
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Pass that plate one more time. No, but Janay, I just want to just give you your flowers. Just how did you hear about the book club?
I don't know, you or Crystal or
So me and Crystal are one. Me, Crystal, and Sabine are all one the same. So you heard it from the three heads, right?
Yeah, somebody was like, hey.
Right, but either way, I'm just so happy and just so proud of you. And I've talked to a lot of people outside the book club, because we all family, and our conversations really run deep, and, we'd be on the phone for hours sometimes. And
me too.
Just when I look at you outside of this book club and just see what you're doing, just like the impact, and I'm just so proud. And I look at anyone, I'm proud of everyone that's here, and just for the elevation of growth and just through these powerful books that we're reading. And I just remember you just said something in reference to with your deal that was about to go south, and you had to have the the power of awareness to say, wait a second, what's happening here? Can you just kind of just a little bit elaborate on that, like just from like what the books we're reading, like just what you're doing, like through the book club, and how you implemented that in your business to be just a better version of yourself?
Absolutely. It shows up all the time, like every day. And an entrepreneur, there's all these independent challenges, right? And they're all different. And they come at you, and you really have to stop. But when you stop, most people don't stop because they don't know if they stop, how to pivot. They only see one road, right? I think that's it. So most people, they're like, how do I stop? Because I've stopped in the middle of this road, like it's a street, I'm going to get run over. Like, right? So they don't know how to stop. So for me, I think what I've learned to do with these readings and my faith and the environments that I'm in is to stop, look for the pivot, right? Look for the pivot and how something can be done. Look in the pivot and what I need to say. Look in the pivot, stop, take control of my emotions, because they jump right out, right? No matter what, they jump right out, right in front of you, and they're like, I want to be like, honestly, sometimes I'm just gonna be old Janay or the other Janay, which is like the hood I come from. You don't mess with my money. I come for you. Like, it's not what you do, right? And I had to learn, like, oh, stop, right? That's not how we respond to things. We do things differently, Janay. And then the revelation of what needs to come, what needs to be done happens. But it's about that I allow the space for it to happen. And I'm just not going to respond or react the way I could, or even the way they're reacting in a space. I've learned to just stop, become aware, right? This book talks about the power is becoming aware, and then figuring out what is my intent and what is the ultimate goal, right? How is this going to turn out in the end? Like, I'm like, okay, I don't want to go down that road. We don't want to pivot down that road. We can pivot in another direction. So it's been really helpful for me in that space, even in negotiations. Like, I don't even get like Jackie and I have a deal. And they were acting kooky. And I was just like, man, I just called the guy up. I was like, oh, so we're just gonna do this? Okay, no problem. Versus like, are you kidding me? I was just like, oh, okay, no problem. And he was like, no, wait. Because they weren't expecting that reaction.
Right.
They were expecting a different reaction when I was just like, oh, don't worry about it. It's no problem. We can move on. It's okay. You want to negotiate? No, it's all right. Don't worry. You can't do this. It's fine. And they were like, what are you talking about? But that is just it. Those powers of, again, our words, right? And the words that we say to others. I'm changing the words that I say to others. And they're not expecting those words. They're expecting the domesticated words.
Wow.
Right? And I'm talking from a different level. So we talk about leveling up. We're definitely leveling up in this space. And the words that we speak to ourselves, Lamar talked about it, and the words we speak to others. So that's how this book club and what we're doing here is helping me grow personally and in business.
Wow, thank you. I just wanted you to share that because, you know, for someone who may be watching out there in YouTube land or in Facebook land, or like Cam, who is struggling. I don't like to use the word struggling. That is like, you know, is becoming an entrepreneur. You know, just how the mindset works and the importance of working on the mindset. And, you know, Cam being 19 has an advantage that most of us didn't have the opportunity to have this collective and this platform to grow and to figure it out. And I always say, I always commend, you know, Cam that shows up and put his input in and what have you. So it's just a beautiful thing. You know, so just thank you for sharing and again, just thank you for just, you know, being you, Janay. And I'm just really proud of you, and just continue to grow, continue to glow, and continue to flow. Now you know. Oh, that rhymed.
Okay, bars.
Okay, so everybody, you know, listen, this book here, The 4 Agreements, I definitely would recommend this book. We have one more chapter left, but this have to definitely be in my top 5 books of books. Like, I see what the big fuss was about, you know. So everybody, let's unmute our phones, our cell phones, our rotor phones, our spaceships, our laptops, and let's give our queen sis Janay just the roses she deserved for today in her 3rd time hosting the Infinite Mindset Book Club.
Great job, Janay.
Good job, Janay. Thank you so much.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, family. Thank you, family. Thank you for being you, family. Appreciate you guys.
Yes. We got. All right. So everyone, please do not forget to follow Janay on social media. If you are an entrepreneur, you're looking to get into entrepreneurship, if you're looking to become a part of the NAREB, Realist Association of NAREB, I always say that backwards for some odd reason, but follow Janay because she's given us great content this year. She's collaborating with some of us in this very room, collaborating with people across New York and beyond, California, whatever you name it. Janay is doing the work. You have something to say, Suzette?
Oh no, I just congratulated her, but with everyone. So I guess you can hear.
Thank you.
Thanks, Suzette.
Have my hand raised.
Yes.
Real quick, guys, before we pop off here, I know I've talked about in the past, but some of you guys are new. And just to share with you really quick, what's a huge passion of mine is the Realtist organization. NAREB, NAREB is a organization created It's the reason if you're in real estate or you live in a home that's really decent and pleasurable for you, or you're in this industry or affiliated with this industry, you can say thank you to NARAB, because they're the first Black real estate trade association focused around creating fair housing, democracy in housing, and also increasing Black home ownership, which really entitles home ownership forever for everyone. NARAB actually helped foster the fair housing legislation that allows most people of color, well, anybody of color really, to live in decent housing, right? And not be discriminated against. So we're doing some really powerful work throughout the nation, but we are also doing very powerful work right here in Queens. I'm the president of the Queens Realtist Association, and I welcome all of you to stay abreast, jump into the network, and we have events every month, pretty much every month, and that are coming out. And I encourage all of you, you don't have to be Black to belong. Anyone can belong. Come and bring a friend, but it's about growing our real estate and our legacy and our income and ourselves. So please feel free to join us, attend, invite a friend. Don't come alone. Thank you, Angie, for that.
Sorry, Janay, when is that?
Our next event is March 28th.
Okay.
I'll
What
drop the flyer in the network group, Angie, in the network group or on the main one.
In the Infinite Network group. Do not
Oh.
drop nothing.
So you guys got to join the network group, or else you won't get the information. Or follow me on Instagram or Facebook.
Right.
Or follow Queens Realtist as well. REALTIST.
You can
Queens Realtist.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Queens
That's all right.
Realtist. Queens Realtist on Instagram. But you can also put that in the network group.
I will.
Okay. So again, thank you, Janay. Thanks for sharing that information. Okay. So with that being said, we got Miss Jakia. Miss Jakia is up. Jakia is gonna send us home. Yes.
Woohoo!
We knocked down today, the 12th, Miss Janay. She did that in Jakia, chapter 7, The New Dream. Okay. Now, our next book we will be reading, just so you guys know, will be How to Win Friends and Influence People. Okay, we're going to kind of shift the dynamics. We've been reading a lot of self-development books in reference to mindset, affirmations and domestications and all these other things like that, manifestations. So now, a lot of us here have some type of entrepreneurial flow, or, on our own businesses and stuff like that. Now we can kind of shift the dynamic and see how we can, win friends and influence people. We're all leaders in our own right, So I think this will be a great segue to the middle of the year. Our next book club, after this book, we are going to take a break, and then we'll come back after Mother's Day, which will be May 21st. So give everyone time to read the book, become familiar, order the book. All right. And of course, I'll see if I can find a PDF. Now, if you order this on Amazon, because I see that it seems like every 5 to 10 years, they print out a new book. This one says over 70 years in print. And I had ordered this book a few months ago, but this one says 80 years in print. Then you see one that says 60 or something like that. So I don't know which version to get, as far as if it's the same information it should be, but it seemed like every 10 years they're adding like 80 years in print, 70 years in print. I seen one that says 75 years in print. So I think this is the latest version. Okay. So our next book club, March the 12th. Oh, I didn't ever change that. God damn it. I was on a roll. I'm sorry, people. What's next week? The 19th?
Yes.
Damn. Okay. See? Be impeccable with your words. So March the 19th, everybody, thank you guys for watching out there on YouTube and Facebook. If you guys want to be a part of this book club, please join us on these platforms. And you can also email us at the Infinite Mindset Empire at gmail.com. So follow us on YouTube and Facebook. Okay.